Alright, so welcome back to video number 2 of my Arduino tutorial series, and in this video we're going to take a look at the Arduino software, so the software aspect of this. So to get started, I have already downloaded the Arduino IDE. You can do so by going to www.arduino.cc. The software is fully free, although you can donate if you want. And so when you first open it, you're gonna get something a bit like this. So your program has two essential parts to it. You have a void setup and you have a void loop. So essentially, here's the difference. In your program, when you upload this, the Arduino first starts up, it starts going through your code, right? You can actually have stuff above void setup, like variable declaration. I'll go through that later though, probably in my first example. So it goes through and it runs the setup phase once. So it'll go through this, it'll set your, usually you will set your pin modes to either inputs or outputs, right? It'll do all that fun stuff. So that all happens, and that code runs. So once it's done running that, the Arduino will move on. So it'll get to this part called void loop. And as the name suggests, void loop will basically keep running forever in a loop on your Arduino. It'll run this code, get to the end, then it'll go back to the start, run it all again. When it reaches the end, it'll go back to the top. So those are the two main parts of the Arduino software, or when you code. You have your setup and your loop. This is very similar to most other programming languages, right? So in setup and loop, you, for example, have to make a block statement, right? So you will use curly brackets and you'll put all of your code in here. Comments in the Arduino software, just like with other programming languages like Java and JavaScript, are done with double slashes. So anything I put after a double slash will be ignored by the compiler. So that's very useful for explaining functions to yourself, so when you're looking back in the future, you'll know what each part of your code does. Other than that, when we get into the first video, you will see, but Arduino follows a similar, it follows a C-style syntax. It's based on the processing programming language. So for example, I can set an integer. I can go int LED pin is equal to, say, 13, and I end the line with a semicolon. If statements run in the same way, if 1 equals 1 or whatever, if button is true, right? You can run code. I can have while loops, I can have for loops, and they all work in a very similar manner. Like a for loop, I still go for int I is 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus. So that's very similar to what you would do in another programming language like Java, for example. These brackets here are passed on just like you would pass in parameters. So the Arduino programming languages is very similar to a lot of other similar syntax-based languages, which I think makes it easy to learn and easy to get into, because there isn't this huge barrier that you have to go over in order to start learning and understanding this stuff. If you have experience with other programming languages, it is much easier to catch on with the Arduino stuff. Now again, this is a very introduction video to the software. I'll go much more in depth about the different functions and what you can do and how you program later on, but this is a start. Now one other things you'll want to do is you want to head on over to tools, and for you guys to see the menu. But so I can click on tools, and I will actually need to set my board to what board I'm using. So in my case, that's an Arduino Uno. If you're using a Mega, whatever, you can set it here. And you'll need to set the ports. If you're on Windows, Microsoft Windows, you will get COM0, COM1, COM1, COM2, COM3, whatever, depending on what port it's on. Because I'm running Linux here, or new/Linux, I have serial. So this, for example, would not be what I use. That's just a software loopback serial port, because I don't have this plugged in right now. When I plug it in, it will appear as a separate device. Make sure you choose the right port, otherwise it's not going to upload. So the Arduino software also has a compiler built in. So to compile, you just click on verify, right? And then you can also upload your code to the Arduino. Again, similar to a lot of other programming languages. So I think you guys will catch on, no problem if you work with other languages before. So that is introduction to the Arduino software. Now let's get on to our first project.